Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be looking at the carrier killer missile. So I'm sure everyone is aware of the carrier killer missile and its infinite badassery in taking out American carriers. Or is it? Well, today we're going to find out, at least in command. I mean, this shouldn't have any bearing on real life, but hey, it's fun. At least I'm having fun. Hope you are too. So we're going to go into the South China Sea and set up two sides and see what we can do. The first thing I want to do is, of course, look at the DF-21. Alright, so the DF-21 and these launchers have 4 missiles. It is a ballistic missile. It's going to go up really freaking high. It's going to go really fast, and it's going to come down really hard. So and its probability of hit reliability seems pretty low, to be honest, but no one's firing one missile, so it's still scary, and doesn't say what its warhead is, but just it crashing down is scary enough. As I said, it's a really big missile. So what makes this dangerous is its range, its speed, and its ballistic trajectory to 1,000,000 feet. And Mach 10, mind you. So this is going to go up really high and come down really fast, right over the target. And at least China claims, I don't know how it works, but I've heard that this missile is capable of maneuvering in the terminal phase with RCS thrusters and actually using them to avoid missiles. I don't know how true that is. I don't actually know a lot about the real system. Nothing I would care to speculate about, at least. So now we're going to put in our favorite punching bag, an Aegis cruiser. Well, actually this time we're going to do a Burke. The reason being is we're going to test out the new Flight 3 and its improved radar. I believe it's Spy 4 instead of the Spy 1 radar. Makes a big difference. Now, I believe China's entire inventory of DF-21Ds is about 50. So I see absolutely no reason to provide more than a few missiles. I mean, they're big, they're expensive, and what we're going to be using to shoot at them are equally big or equally expensive, not equally big. But I believe the SM-3 is a $10 million-ish missile. Pretty insane. So it's got a range of 200 nautical miles in the Block 1B configuration. It's a 705 kilogram missile, so it's small. And it can go high enough to actually shoot at an a DF-21 when it's up in the air. And it goes Mach 10. It's got an IR seeker. I suppose there isn't much else in space for it to see, so should have no confusion there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm surprised that such a light missile can go so damn fast. And then we're also going to look at the Block 2A, which is insane. So the Block 2A allegedly has a range of 1,325 nautical miles. It's 1,500 kilograms. It fits in the same launch cell, same IR seeker, and it can go up even higher. 4.6 million feet. I'm pretty sure that means that it could shoot down the International Space Station a few times over. I think, anyway. Oh, well, anyway. And it's really freaking fast. So, it's a kinetic warhead, just like the other one. It's going to crash into the missile, and if this thing crashes in at this speed and crashes into a missile going Mach 10, that is a dead missile, and I can't imagine that amount of energy hitting anything. So yeah. And also, I believe it's got the IR seeker, so if there are a bunch of missiles fired, one missile misses, it will then try to hit the next target. Oh, and 85% chance probability of hit. And the same for the 1B. Well, since our radar doesn't go that far, we're going to use the 1B. And we're going to bankrupt America while we're doing it, apparently. Yeah, so just for the record, this is the most unrealistic loadout I've ever done, because this missile system, like I said, is a $10 million missile, and it can only be used to shoot down ballistic missiles. So before I get started, since somebody is going to say something, I'm just going to say right now, I am no expert in this, but I know enough to believe that I have a reasonable opinion that ballistic missile interdiction or interception is going to be the most complicated thing that the U.S. military is going to do. It is a really fast missile, really high, a lot of moving parts. This is rocket science, so, you know, it's complex stuff. And it all has to happen really fast, and it needs to be excessively precise. Alright, so we're playing as China, so we're going to use the A-50, which is their AEW aircraft. And we've got our sensors on. We see the target, and we're going to just fly straight past it. So it looks like this DDG here can't fire until it gets to here, even if it had SM2, the higher block ones. But I believe there are better radars for tracking ballistic missiles. I think it's the Type 45 destroyer from the UK. Let's see if I'm right. Whoa, I am right. So, obviously radars exist. I'm sure the US has something land-based that's like this, that can detect a target like this from longer range, but we're just going to use the Berg. Although, I do believe that the ballistic missile defense grid that the U.S. has is pretty much all-encompassing on any area they think they'd get a ballistic missile from, so they probably have something somewhere around here that can detect missiles. I'm honestly not sure of an exact location, of course, but, you know, it's probably there. Figure it's there. So we're going to keep God's eye view on for now, and we're going to let these missiles come towards us. Oh, and now that we're waiting for these missiles to come in, let's take a look at the actual vehicle itself that gets fired. So, warhead is a conventional warhead, but doesn't tell us how much of a warhead it is. I have a feeling that just crashing into the target is enough. Oh, we're not in. So the ASBM, that's the warhead here, I believe, the re-entry vehicle. Alright, so it's got an 80 nautical mile active radar seeker, so that will turn on and we'll be able to find a target to crash into. It also has a passive anti-radiation seeker. Well, you're going to need to have your radar on. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Rats. And re-entry phase at 6,500 knots. Now, I don't believe that SM-6 can shoot it down even though it's going 6,500 knots only. I say only, but you know. And the reason for that, I believe, is that SM-6 can't just go straight up like that. So it's a 2,000 kilogram, I'm sorry, yeah, so it's pretty much a 2,000 kilogram re-entry vehicle, so it's probably got a sizable warhead. Now, it doesn't say anything about maneuvering, and I don't know how that would be simulated in game. If it does truly maneuver with maneuvering thrusters in flight, which would be pretty insane. So we've got our 304 kilometer high missile coming in, and let's speed this up now. Alright, so they're detected as far out as our radar goes practically. Oh, and by the way, the Spy 4 radar is, which is going to be in the new Berks, is pretty decent radar. Or Spy 6, 4X AN SPY 6 radars. This replaces the Spy 1 radar, and it's a longer range radar. Anyway, I think it's time we slow it down and see what happens. So I'm predicting this is going to be modeled in a way that shoot downs are going to be very likely, and they're, I mean, unless you fire enough missiles that that you could saturate, basically outnumber interceptors, or have one missile for every 2 interceptors would probably do it. Alright, so here we go. We've got our SM-3s firing when the missiles are approaching its max range. So anything else other than an SM-3 for the most part, unless it's an anti-ballistic missile, it cannot reach up high enough to touch these guys until they are right on top of it, and then they're coming straight down, and most missiles can't fly straight up to engage anyway, not indefinitely at least. So I should have looked. Minimum range of the SM-3 is probably important, 4 nautical miles. So when they are coming in, there is going to be a point where SM-3s can no longer shoot at them. Alright, so these missiles are going towards the point that they're supposed to go towards, and I believe that's actually the impact point for them. I believe they're guided in by the Aegis system with their Aegis data link, and we've got 4 missiles left over, so if we had manually just fired 1 missile per, that would have done it. Now, of course, what I find interesting about the SM-3 is we can't shoot this down with an SM-3. Can't even shoot down this aircraft here. Not that you would want to spend so much on that missile, but still. Alright, so we're going to load back up. Actually, I'm going to load up the Block 2As, and I'm going to take a better radar with us. So I can't imagine what these Block 2As cost, and I don't know, to be honest, if that's a hypothetical unit or a real unit, but I figured I'd test it out too. One each, okay. So there we go. And I'm going to fire off several of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so that is pretty much every missile that China's got, assuming that Wikipedia is correct. I'm going to move them a little closer just to make sure that the ones on the other side of Hainan are in range. And I'm going to give the US a better radar for tracking ballistic missiles. Which is ironically a British system in this case. I'm sure the US has a radar, I just don't want to go through and look through every single radar myself until I find a comparable one. So I'm just going to use theirs. And now I'm just going to tell all 12 of these to attack. Allocate 4 each. So this is more just complete speculation. I don't know how many interceptors they have, and I certainly don't think that this can be modeled appropriately. I'm sure that both missile and interceptor here are highly classified, and no one's going to know exactly how they're going to perform. That's just my thoughts. So I'm going to speed it up until we see something. We still don't see anything until, oh well. Maybe this is the wrong radar for it. I'm surprised. Curious why that radar says it's so powerful. Either way, So these missiles here, there are missiles behind them, so if they miss, I wonder if, or they shoot too many, if they could just go straight through and go to the missiles behind it. Be interesting to see. But it looks like there is a limit of about 18 missiles that can be fired at a time. Looks like there may be a limit to how many you can guide in. And as I said before, I think that Command does a good job trying to simulate things with the most amount of data that we have available, but this is impossible to model, not to mention we're dealing with classified stuff, so they can only take their best guess on how an engagement would go. I would say that they understand how it would go in terms of the missile will be detected. They could probably even do the math and give a reasonable educated guess on when it would be detected, but they can also guess how long it would take to fire a missile, and as far as probability of the missile hitting, that's got to be pure speculation. I can only imagine. Now, I'm sure that someone will debate the effectiveness of the DF-21, and I don't honestly have enough information to have an opinion on it. I think that tactically it would make sense that this could be this wonder weapon. The only question I have is, how are they going to detect a carrier to know where to fire can they do that by satellite, or are they going to have to do an aggressive sweep to find a ship? And how easy or hard will it be for them to find a ship? And of course, will they have the ability to find a ship, or will the Americans have air superiority over the area? I mean, I would think that all these are factors that are going to play in, and, you know, can they just fire it if they have a rough location, or do they have to have an actual lock on the carrier? I don't know the answer to these questions, so I'm not going to sit here and say I think, oh, we'll just defeat every single missile thrown at us, because I don't know if that's the case, and I don't know if they'll get through every time either. It's, you know, this game is awesome for modeling this sort of stuff, but it's a model, and it's a model of stuff that we have no real life precedence for, so, you know, it is what it is. It's not taking away from command, it's just we're dealing with uncharted territory here, at least as far as real life is concerned. Alright, I'm surprised that was all intercepted so easily. I think next I'm going to do the SM-6, the wonder weapon of Aegis that we've seen so far. And yes, it is capable of both air and surface attacks, so we're going to see that in action. I would hate to fire such a small warhead at such an expensive package, but oh well. It's worth seeing how it goes. Oh, and another thing I wanted to just mention is the reason that I did not use the SM-6 for these testing things is cruise altitude. I believe that's also the max altitude. 115,000 feet. So this missile can't be used for that. Neither can the SM-2s. And certainly not the low-flying ESSM. Like target altitude, 50,000 feet. 115,000 feet. 100,000 feet. So that's why I didn't bother with it. Alright, well, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will certainly be doing more content soon. Have a good day for now.